क्या हो गया? स्टक हो गया? क्या हो रहा है भाई? चल रहा है कि नहीं लाइव पता नहीं लग रहा है. हेलो, कैन somebody hear me? Yeah, it's moving now. Okay. Good afternoon. This is FIDE Senior Trainer and International Master Chess Coach Sekhar Sahu welcomes you on behalf of Sports Society of Gujarat and Gujarat State Chess Session to this intermediate training session. So today I would like to cover some miniature games and typical mistakes in the opening area, and then I will take some interesting games of Magnus Carlson where he has lost and he has won. So let's go. The first game, it is a Karaoke Defense. Now the most popular line here is knight to d2. This is the main line. The second main line is e5, advanced variation. There are other lines. There are like side lines. There are something kings in an attack. Pawn f3 is a side line. So pawn takes pawn also is interesting, leading to pawn over attack. But now in this game, white played f3. This is not the correct way to play. Now this only hoping that black will take the pawn and white will get. But the pawn on f3 is taking the square from the knight. So black simply can play e6 and get a very comfortable game. He will treat the game like a French defense where pawn f3 is useless move. That is why f3 is not good. e6 is the best answer for black. However, in the game he played f3 and black played this bad move. Well, it was played in 1971, so theory was not so well developed. After pawn into pawn, he played another bad move. Not correct. Tactically it is okay. After pawn takes pawn, queen a5 check, and he will take. But white is getting a lead in development. So white is getting a lead, but knight f3, and this is bad. We have seen such things in, for example, such a situation I can bring like here d4 d5, d4 d5, then c4 dc e4, and then e5. Then we play knight f3, pawn into pawn, bishop c4. White has an advantage, a lead in development, and the f7 point is under serious trouble. So similar to that, here he gets bishop c4. White has got an advantage. Black must rush with the king's development. So a check. And now pawn into pawn met by bishop f7 check. Check. Of course, he is not taking the bishop, but it is bad. No, king e7, it is also bad. After king e7, now he can have bishop check and winning. Bishop check and winning material. Bishop check, knight f6. Now queen into queen and winning material. Followed by, or maybe queen into queen directly also. Bishop check and queen into queen and pawn into pawn. So he takes. Now queen into queen. The point is black is getting a queen, but black king is in jeopardy. I think he is already in a mess now. Only move, then queen check, e8, only move. Now finish. Because g5 is leading to checkmate after h4. Now if you place g5, h4, hardly any good reply is there. The game is lost. Nothing can stop. Now pawn into pawn, double checkmate, and queen check is of no use, and queen into knight, it is not working. So this game, basically black has played the opening phase badly. Today a modern player knows that he should play here e6, not obliging white. For example, now e4 e6, d4 d5. Now you play here, I mean, ND2 and NC3 and E5. These are the main lines. Or even King's Indian attack is also possible. This is also not bad. However, playing like F3 is not good. So I will go to the next game. Typical errors. Okay, now this is Tal Bhaganian. Now this E5 is there, even Bishop B5 is also there. This is also plus for white. Bishop B5 also, because knight E5 initiate to take. I think this is not, and now BB5. This is more common move, BB5. And white is clearly better. White is ready to castle, and now he has to move the knight to put pressure on center. So this is definitely white better. But Mikhail Tal had his own ideas. He wanted to open the game at the earliest. It turns out to be the same thing. Plus minus. You can see white will castle and be very safe. And now the threat is remaining on black. The threat remains. You can't play h6, queen h5 will kill. And after g6 also, there will be a lot of trouble. g6 also trouble, h6 also trouble. Giving a one move threat. The threat is knight into pawn, winning a pawn. One move threat. So time is important for piece play. Check, and then create a weakness and come to queen to f3. Queen f3. You are obliged to defend the f7 square, only move, no other move. Now this is gone, because if you take the knight, then you lose the rook. Queen f7 and queen f6 picks up the rook, and if you do not take the position, there is nothing he can do. After knight into knight, queen into knight, will lose the rook also, and bet check and queen f6 check, and if you castle, just a piece down. So where is the weak point? The point is this is not good, NC6. Now this is the suicidal. Even now the position is playable for black, but black should not open up the game. For example, now black can fight the game. Even though it is bad, he should try to play some a5 move, provoking a5 move. Idea a4, and then if bg5, be7. White is only better but not winning easily. This is bad. King in the center and bad pieces opening the position. Let's see. Stein versus. Now I told you, other day I showed you David Bronstein game. This is called a pawn nail. A pawn nail. Now pawn into pawn is bad because c4 and then queen b3. c4 and then you make the move queen to b3, getting a tempo on b7, or now moving the knight. So knight b4 also queen b3. Queen b3 plus minus. Aiming at this point, and now you lose time. You can't do all this. The b7 pawn. So you cannot take pawn into pawn. That is bad. That means f6 has to be played. Now this is called a pawn nail. Suddenly black is experiencing lot of difficulty in development. His king side semi-paralyzed. Necessary to free the knight. Now knight on f5 can be lethal. Here already black is suffering from lack of development. He should better think how to complete development. The pawn on the e6 is a thorn in the neck, and he goes for material. This is bad. Now for example, he is expecting the rook will move to g1, but Stein played the very active move. After rook g1, knight into pawn, and black will survive. After rook g1, knight e6, but white played the deadly move queen. Now after the queen exchange, that he cannot develop the king side easily. Now what about the b7 pawn? Of course, he is offering the rook. He is offering the rook. Now there is a one move mate threat. Mate in 1 is threatened. You have to do something quickly. There is no other way to repel the mate. Now you have to only play king to d8. Other moves like queen d8 is not working. Queen to d5 is not working. Queen d5, he will collect the knight and maintains the pressure. So he goes knight. Now the point is, now the bishop is coming. The bishop f4 is coming and the rook will join the attack also. The rook will join the attack. This is not a problem. This is not going to hinder white's attack. He does not pay attention to the queen into f1. Check. Another check. There is no time to queen into another check. King into. It is no good check position. The queen has no good check. There is nothing, and the knight is queen into c7 and mate. Knight check, and now queen check, and now there is a knight g5 should lead to mate. Maybe other knight g5 was even better, so that queen f5 can come. Queen f5. Anyway, this is leading to finish because this will come and queen check, and this is coming. I think this is all terrible position. So the whole point is that a player should be always vigilant about pawn push. Alekhine defense. It can come Karaoke defense. It can come in some lines of e4, e5 also. For example, I saw a game Smyslov white. Okay, maybe I can show you that game. Classical. Maybe I will show you a pawn nail. The subject is a pawn nail. There is the World Championship file. e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6, bv5 and bc5. It is improving the bots because this is bots is bad. So he is preparing to exchange knight. So c3, stopping that. Even castle also guarantees small advantage. So c3, knight f6, now d4. Now pawn into pawn. Now this position I would like to show a pawn nail is coming. I don't know who is the black player. Smyslov is white, I know that. It is Smyslov versus Brakja, I guess. It is Smyslov versus, I guess it is Brakja. No, it is not Brakja. It is must be this one. Yeah, this one. Now, he just plays pawn into and e5. Forced. On knight to h5, the knight will get trapped. Knight h5, g4 is trapped. So white has the great center. Now d5, d6. After bishop comes here, d6. You cannot move the knight. Suppose you move the knight, you are losing the knight. Now some bishop check will come. This is mating attack will come. Mating attack. So he plays f5, but then a pawn nail. The bishop is anyway lost because indirectly this bishop is indirectly protected by check. I am not losing. So this is a queen side pawn nail. He will experience lot of difficulty in development. Check. I think it is finished. The only move. And now knight with the threat of nf7, which you cannot guard. After queen e8, queen d5 is a killer. Queen e8, queen d5 is a killer. So knight into pawn only move. Hopeless position now. Only move. The move like g6 is made, and h6 here I think you can play even knight into pawn also because the white square weaknesses. So he plays and finish. It is terrible, no development. So this kind of pawn nail we have seen in Grunfeld defense, exchange variation. It comes also in Grunfeld exchange variation, that kind of pawn nail. Okay, Why there is no chart here? Huh? Hello Gautam Chess. Hello Urvi Barai, and Kamakshi Vastu. Fine, thank you. So I will go to the next game. Ciro Motillo. Basically, it was a tiebreaker in FIDE knockout, and winner takes a purse of $24,000. Would you believe that a prize money of $24,000 decided in the tie break, and that too in a very quick game? Now this is the old line. Then after b5 or knight f6, knight e3. Now b5, b4 is ignored. This is not working well. So b5, bishop f4. Idea: pawn to b4, knight to b5 is killing. Queen a4. So only move. Now this is the point. Now the bishop remains unprotected, rather forced. Now rb1, and white wins after knight, because the check on queen a4 is decisive. The point is, now if you play queen to b7, there is a thrilling rook into b2 is coming. It's a pity that such a high prize money game is decided in a tie break and black collapsed. Black is a strong GM, Motillo. Now queen b7 is a blunder. After this move, rook into pawn, because there is a mate. Queen takes queen is a checkmate, and if you move any other move, queen c6 check is killing. A similar game, I would say, was finished. Okay, here this is a similar game. I can show you. Who was it? Anyway, now I will take you to the games of Magnus Carlson. I think a similar game. I will show you. Wait a minute. Just a minute. Yeah. This one. I think a similar game. Now queen b5. Now Motillo had played queen to b7, and now queen b5. The same thing. Two games in the same way. b7 or b5 doesn't matter. Lost. Okay. Your background handmade craft. Handmade. No. It is not handmade. This is not handmade. You know, they make all this thing, this kind of thing done. I think how much? Maybe 20 rupees per square feet, or 25-30 rupees per square feet. You know, you can get this sort of things in market. Advertising agencies, they do. You can get all this thing printing 20 or 30 rupees per square feet. I don't know now. Okay. It is not handmade. Okay. So I will take you to some games of Magnus by Carlson. This was a game was played when Carlson was already more than 2700 plus. But at that time, Anand was the reigning world champion. And it is a game, very interesting game, clash of two great players. And Anand displayed amazing resource of defense. Actually, if you ask me, attack is very easy because you practice lot of tactics, see some attacking games, you get the ideas and quickly. Because attacker only plans one or two variations or a thematic preparation. But the player who defends, he has to calculate all possibilities. Because not only on the king side, there could be some deflection on other side also. The defender has a bigger, harder task. He has to work out more variations and very end to find only correct moves. If the attacker makes one small miss, there will be another rejoinder. But the defender cannot do that. So, in this sense, that defense of Anand was hair-raising. Wonderful defense. It is an amazing example of defense. Okay. Sicilian Najdorf is the most popular Sicilian. It is rich with possibilities and all the world champions have played it. Especially the expert of the line, Bobby Fischer in his time was the greatest expert from black side. And Kasparov in his time was also the greatest expert of this Najdorf. The point is, it is rich with possibilities and gives to a complex fight. Now, the old main line in those days, in the time of Petrosian, Fischer, although in those time, Bishop g5 was the main line. This is the old main line, bg5, and black will play e6, and now you play f4, now knight to d7, now queen to f3, now bishop to e7, and now you can play here maybe castle, now queen c7 something, now g4, and I think this position after h6 you take, and now you take, and now g5. I think one move before he plays, before castle. I am making the move order wrong. Here itself g4. Now h6 you take, no, knight into, now take, knight here, and now he castles. Now even though we will take with a check, the position is not easy. You can take with check, the position is extremely difficult. For example, now the rook g1 tempo is coming, queen g4 is coming, it is not easy. So this is the old main line, and there is another way also. Many Najdorf players like Fischer and Kasparov, Lazarus Portis, they have opted for this poison pawn. I mean bg5, e6, f4, queen b6. This is also a very complex line, not easy. But I told you that white can get a small advantage after nb3, very solid, or white can play queen d2 after queen takes pawn also nb3, with the idea a3 and rook a2, trapping the queen, or you can play rb1 also. So in any case, white has got slight advantage. However, don't take it for granted, because the Najdorf players, they are very well prepared in this variation. So if player don't know the theory, he will definitely suffer, whether you are white or black. So I mean, for example, after queen a3, Timman sacrifice, rb1, after queen, bishop takes knight, pawn takes e5, no, first e5, I'm sorry, first e5, now bishop takes knight, and I think the position is very difficult, not easy. Some pawn sack cuffs, there is a pawn sack. What is a Timman sack? Okay, I will not discuss now at that line. And the modern theory is here, modern main line is play English Open, English attack. Here, instead of bg5, they go for the English attack. I will discuss one English attack today. This is English attack. Idea b3, queen d2, long castle, g4, h4 and hy, attack. Just like dragon, you keep pushing the king side pawns after b3, queen d2. So you can move this way also, allowing this ng4, bg5. White is anyway slightly better. I will discuss one variation of English opening, English attack today. So let us see in the game Anand played the simple because he had tremendous experience in this line because he prepared for Kasparov in the PCA World Championship. So his knowledge and experience, he was an expert of this line also, other than Carpo. This is slightly better, little better for white. Now Garry Kasparov in this position invariably, almost always he played rook e8. Why? Because he is vacating the square. One, the knight can come, the bishop can come, and the rook is ready to strike after e5. Rook is ready to strike the center after e5. So rook e8 is a really nice idea, and Kasparov almost always played invariably in this such positions. So Magnus also plays this, bishop f3. Now one of the idea bf3, discouraging the b5 move, discouraging the b pawn b push, and the center is strengthened. Idea, now rook is coming to e1. Actually, objectively, the position, it is difficult for black because it is not the position that white has an easy attack. White has to just keep pushing the pawns, bring the pieces, queen, rook, knight, everything on the king side attack. Whereas black must find timely counterplay. So it is not an easy game. So he plays g4. I will discuss one more game where Razdavo versus somebody. Razdavo Smirin. Or I can show Gasimov Bogar versus Ivanchuk. White has an easy plan. He wants to drive the knight, the d6 point. It is not easy. It is not easy to regroup the pieces like this. Normally, a black player will try to put pressure on the e pawn. But this is the perfect defense, not allowing the knight to come. Don't know, this is it is not easy because white needs to attack. The more pieces on the board, more chances are offered. This exchanges rather solve the defender's problem to a great extent. So I guess at this point that white lost his way. Maybe he was not prepared for this variation, and mentally he did not find immediately anything. So this is a psychological error, not a good move. The attacking player should maintain more pieces on the board. So g5 was more to the point. I think still white chances are alive. But after bishop into knight, I think the black task is much more easier. Not bishop takes knight. Not bishop takes d5. That is not good. bd5, ed5, and then black gets a fantastic play. So you should not play bd5, queen c6. Naturally, white does not want to exchange queen. Thereafter, there will be no attack, and then he has lot of overextended pawns. So once Fischer said, if opponent offering material, you should grab it unless you find way that he will punish you. Now the point is, opponent is morally down. That means he is forced to go for attack. He must kill black king, otherwise the endgame is lost. It is not easy. So rook lift to third rank, and he is bringing attack quickly. Well played. All this is force moves. There is nothing, no change black can do, only move. Okay. So this is good, and actually the order of the day is to attack. There is nothing better he could do. You need to sacrifice on g6 or h5, they only move. eliminating. The defender eliminates the most important, the piece of white on knight on d5. Looking at f6, looking at c7, restricting the queen. So eliminates the knight. Very important move. It appears now black is now able to defend the game. It appears. What else? Bishop and knight is forced and he takes. Again king to g8 is forced. Now king into g6, you will get checkmated. So you cannot take king into g6, only move king g8. Now queen h6, h7 check. Note the journey of the king. Please make a note, the journey of the king. Okay. King. What a journey of the king. Amazing. What white is missing? A minor piece. He needs a knight or a black square bishop. Otherwise, there is no way. There is no attack is coming. All of a sudden, so he threatens, and again the correct defense. The queen is covering. There is no rook check, and at a given opportunity, the king will slip by a c7 to b8. Sweet home. Third attack. Again, you see the time of defense. Check, and now finish. The beautifully defended. The d7 knight is defended third time and also attacking the queen. Forced. Nothing else. If you play rook d7, I think this is end of the game. No attack. So the only move here, rook to f6 check, and the king slips. Would you believe that black king is slipping by f8, e7, d6, king c7? Yes, this is full of tactics. But what white made a mistake? Hello, Suryakant Babu, namaskar. What white made a mistake is that bishop into f5. For example, I will show in the same variation how the two attacks came. For example, let us say Razdavos Marine. In 2015, almost identical. The position went, but this time instead of bishop to f3, bishop d3. This is more comfortable for the attacking side. The knight into d3 is bad. The center becomes strong and c file will open. A future post for his black square bishop on b6. Again, the threat of pawn e5 and threat of bishop b6, it is very uncomfortable. Black is now very uncomfortable against the bishop's penetration to b6 and pawn to e5. So he wants to avoid the tempo and attacks. There is other moves are bad. Even Ivanchuk played this with Gasimov Bugar. Even Ivanchuk also did the same thing. I will show you that game also. The queen. Now this is the point of defense, that he wants to drive the queen and knight gets a plate at g7. Very difficult now. The queen is running out of squares. Forced. bf6 and queen h7. Again forced. Once again forced. And now I don't think the defense is cracked now. The knight cannot move owing to h7, threat on h7, bf6 and winning. Only move. Finish. There is no time to take on d4. The sacrifice on g6 will finish. I think this game is over. Something lost on time maybe. Maybe I will show you that Gasimov versus Ivanchuk. Okay, I will show that game. I guess it is Gasimov Ivanchuk, I think. Let us see. Hello, Fakir Maji. Yeah. See? Okay, there is an improvement, this one. I think this is also lost. I think, no, I think I'm showing what about Gasimov versus, I am not showing that game. It is not there. I hope it is there. I think, thank you. I think it is there. Let me see. Oh, it is a little different line. This is different line. The idea, queen from a5 is watching the e5 point and c file is open. The knight d5 trick will not work because knight d5 queen exchange, knight e7, king f8 and take the knight. Now this is also queen h5, the rook f3 is giving trouble. Now this is a waste of time. I don't understand why did the great player like Ivanchuk went there. So two tempos in attack and white position is now overwhelming. Okay, let me leave this. Go to the next game of Carlson. Sorry. Now, Ivanchuk goes for the classical setup in Queen's Gambit declined. Now the standard move bishop g5 is there, Catalan is there, g3. Where white can choose either he can play Catalan or he can go for the exchange variation, which is not promising us advantage in long term exchange variation. And g3 is good, slight better for white. The other line is main line bishop g5. However, he goes for bishop f4. The main drawback of the line is when the bishop is on g5, the pressure on d5 remains. All the time the pressure remains. He can go bishop into f6 and pawn into pawn, queen b3, long castle. He can go. So the bishop f4 does not put the pressure. So black gets a free hand to play c5 after castle. I mean, if you see Kasparov's notes on the game, Harry Nelson Fieldsbury was white and Immanuel Lasker was black. In some maybe 120 years back, 130 years back. In that game, Kasparov said that c5 is the correct way, but Lasker did not play that. So, not immediate c5, black can castle now followed by c5. Gives an easy game. Castle. Now c5. Now opening the position is favorable for black. You can see white king in center. So he plays pawn into pawn. This is rather a harmless variation for black. The point is the fight for a tempo. White is waiting that black will take and white will come directly. So a useful move. Queen c2 watching the center, hoping he will take pawn into pawn. White is ready to make long castle. Excellent move. Now the pressure, the pin on the knight, and now no b4 is possible also. Well, we have seen such a line earlier. Garry Kasparov played this and beat Baganian. But analysis of that game, there must be a lot of improvement. You see, that game was played somewhere, maybe many years back, and okay, I will show that game also. So here, bishop back, and this was also played between Carpo and Seravan. Carpo white and Seravan black. Yes, sir, Seravan. Now it is now the question is, when there is an opposite side castle, who will attack whom? Now white will try to storm the pawns, open a line. Black will try to open the position by playing b5, b4, rook coming to open file c line. So the debate is who will attack whom first, whether white's kingside pawn storm or black's queenside pawn storm, which comes faster. It appears to me black is more ready. The reason is the bishop on f4 is hampering the f pawn. h4 to the center. Now he realizes and tries to the simple plan to open up the line at the cost of one pawn. कौन सी आप यूज करते हो? I am using chess base. That is the best. Chess base is the best thing. My favorite is chess base 9. But I am using chess base 12. Now I think chess base 16, maybe chess base 17 has come. I don't know. Chess base 16 or 17 might have come now. Okay. So here, chess base is very easy for your data preparation, and you know that mega database gives all the latest games this week in chess also. So chess base I recommend to all the ambitious students. It is very easy to operate also. b2. Black does not care. He just wants to open line. So white is desperate to open. The speed. If you play slowly like king b1, there is anyway the attack is going to come. So white wants to hurry up. Let him take the pawn. Okay, you may win the pawn, but that will open the g file. Queen to b6. Now the point is, one of the key defender of white's castle. Now this knight is a key defender of white's position, king's castle position. Otherwise things are worse. If he will play king to b1, knight into f2, exchange, and rook c8 will be terrible position. So the exchange of pieces does not give relief to white. Forced. And now white has to open up. He has to play g6, he has to play h6, and black is already there. Already there. Faster. A tempo. And I think this is finished now. It is the end of the game, because I don't see any good defense is possible for white, whether you take or not. Okay. Okay. Now no more further thing. No nd6, no knight f5. The nd6 loses too quickly. Finish. Now queen into pawn. This is terrible position. Now you can see all four pieces are in action. 1, 2, 3, 4. All are in action. And the queen is king is already in trouble. The threat is some bishop check and bishop coming here and knight entering, rook entering. It is all over. All over. So he cannot play nd6. And he played here queen into pawn, but that also loses. Even with the knight on the defense, it loses. It is a file is open further. Now if you take pass pawn is coming. Now if you take bishop into knight, a pass pawn is coming with a tempo. With a tempo, a pawn on the 6th rank. And if you do not take, that anyway, the bishop into b3 and game is over. Over. Rook attack, finish. A new queen, unstoppable. So the whole position, of course, the line itself is not bad. The line itself is not bad. For example, I will show you a game, Kasparov versus Vaganian on the same position. I'm sure I have kept it. Yeah. Almost identical, we have got this. I think this is not the good move. So you should not have, you should have played a6 and b5. That is a more modern treatment, a6 b5. So this was the move that helped white. Now I told you, in such a position, who attacks whom is more important. Now even if you play h6, he will ignore the knight. He will ignore. You can't take that, helping the white rook to join the attack. Pawn into g5 will kill. So only move. Mate threat. Knight into f6 and queen checkmate. Only move. Other move like knight e4 is also advantage for white. This will not solve his problem. Pawn into g5 and again attack. Finish. Now if you play bishop c4 to eliminate pieces, knight check is there. Intermediary check. And then I win. So bishop into c4 trying to reduce pieces does not work. And after rook into f7, queen into. Forced. Now rook attacked, bishop attacked. Forced and lost. The game is a quick death, but anyway the position is bad. Here he played g6. Only move. Knight e4, queen e4 is winning. If there was time, he could have played h5, idea knight into. But he will eliminate the knight. So it is important to save the knight. And then bishop coming exchange. Otherwise he will divert anyway. Now white has to only worry about rook c8. This is the only thing. So just king. After because you never know sudden tempo will come. So just go away, a prophylactic move. And now it is winning position. Because black attack is not coming and black cannot stop white's expansion. h5. Okay, here if you play rook c8, I have got anyway h5. No more progress. The d3 square is guarded. So this should be winning. Winning position. Okay. So in this position he played queen. Well, pawn into pawn is finished. If you take h into g, it is a finish, force move, only move. And now this is not easy to defend. Knight d8, rook into will come. Suppose you play nd8 or maybe simple defense is finished. So this is also not working. So in the game he played knight coming, winning the game. All the areas are covered there and he resigned here, I think. This itself he resigned. Rook into coming, A into B, and now new queen. you have no time to take. This is a potential new queen. After rook into queen, so he says there is no need. Rook into queen, rook check is winning. And in the analysis, somebody said, Kasparov, he said you will just play here instead of taking A into B, just queen, because anyway the queen is immune. Anyway it is winning. So the mistake was done here in the opening mistake, that he took the pawn into pawn. That was a mistake. So here this is a mistake. This helped white. So you should have played here a6 b5. That is the correct way trying to attack, which Ivanchuk did. Okay. Now let me take you to some game. Carlson versus Enamulusen, Bangladesh Grandmaster on the Olympiad, Chess Olympiad, Norway versus Bangladesh 2016. Okay, now knight here. Okay, there are many moves possible here. After this castle, knight into pawn is a blunder. Queen c2, knight will get trapped. So here there are possibility f5. This is the main line. d5 is bad. Botvinnik has showed after pawn into pawn, white gets a structural superiority. d5, simply pawn into pawn, white white has a structural superiority. Plus minus. White will simply start moving the central pawns. c5 is not coming. So d5 is bad. And here the other line is to play f5. This other line is to play f5. And after knight e1, this is the critical move. This is the move. In some games of Paul Kerr's book, he had played some queen and d5 move. This move. And now in this game, after f5, modern game went f3. You can take the c3 pawn, and white is again better. Little better. Plus. Definitely white position is preferable. White has two bishops, and the central pawns, more pawns in center, and open line on the b file, half open file. White stands better. But however, f5 is the only way. In this position, f5 is the only move. After the move, f5 is the only way to continue the fight and give more resistance. d5 is positionally better for white. However, black went for the third choice. Unfortunately, this turns out to be a very bad move, because after the move f3, he has to go, and now d5 is coming. Now d5 will seal the bishop. In the Petrosian system, okay, I will show you. Maybe I will show you what you are aiming. In the Petrosian system, d4, knight f6. Now, after c4, e6, knight f3, b6. Now this is classical, and this is Petrosian. Now bb7, bb7. Now in c3. Now, if you play mechanically, then d5 with the idea next move e4, then the bishop is a mere spectator. A terrible position. I was white against the former national champion Farooq Ali, and I won the game very easily because he was not knowing theory. He allowed d5 freely. So you should not do. You must play here only move d5, the only move. And after that, the position is complex. White is little better. Complex position. So similar situation. You can't allow d5. You can't allow a position like this. So same thing happened here. After the move c5, we more or less get the similar thing. e4. Now I want to, and if you play pawn into pawn, that will be more worse. Double bishop and center and everything. So same thing we have got now. The bishop on b7 doing nothing. the knight cannot come to c6. So it is a Taras formula. These pieces are very poorly placed. Poorly placed. It's very easy now. It is very easy to plan so much space and attack. Now g4, rook g2. There are so many plans available. Now e pawn into. Not giving any respite, because black is so desperate, it will be black position, he will throw the pawn and try to do something. So don't take any chance. Alekhine said, when opponent is down, don't allow him to recover. So completely pressed, don't allow him to recover. Pawn into pawn. Terrible pieces. I remember I played with Jan Elvest in one of the Goodrick tournament, and I thought the position is fine. Not exactly this. Now my bishop b7 was like a buried bishop. Similar situation. It was unable to come out. Then I realized you cannot allow such a structure. So here g4, and white has all the pieces ready. Even the queen rook is ready. White has got pawns are ready, queen rook, everything is now ready for attack. And black is having three of the main pieces, queen, rook and bishop, not functioning. Very easy. You have many plans here. Even play rook g1, even here rook g2 and followed by expanding queen to h5 and rook coming, that is also winning knight. So he finds this is the easiest way. Knight check is threatened. All set. And three pawns are ready. Forced. The two bishops are taking away squares. Now all the squares. So they have nothing to do. It is symbolic only. Double the rook on the e file, open e file, have no role to play. Not interested in the exchange. Just open the game. And h file will kill. If you play h pawn into, it is mate. And anyway it will lead to mate. After bishop into, and now rook check and queen, or queen check and rook. Finish. Now anyway it is lost. Here f into, now he will play check and rook. Anyway it will lead to mate. So the mistake was caused on the ninth move. Ninth move here. This one. Rather ninth move, c5. The correct move was to play f5. And there is a lot of fight left. Okay. So you can ask me, those who are playing the variation, they can ask me. I can discuss this Nimzo-Indian variation. Okay. Today I will focus only on this Carlson's games. There will not be much time left. Carlson versus Nakamura. Now this is Samislav, a waiting move. One of the idea is to play pawn into pawn and b5 c5. Pawn into pawn and b5 and c6 to c5. So waiting. Now white wants to wait for the tempo. For example, knight f3, then b2, he will take the pawn. So black is waiting for white to come out. Want to come out, then he will take, gaining a move. Then he will take, gaining a move. So queen c2, a perfect waiting move. Again wait, hoping pawn takes pawn. Again wait. It's a fight for a tempo. Both players, he says you take the pawn. Now black says you double up the bishop, I will take the pawn. Now black is running out of useful moves. If you delay too much, suppose you delay and wait, now e4 will come. White is better because the bishop is ready. Normally with bishop c1, this is a good position. Here the bishop is ready. So you cannot wait longer. After pawn into, knight into, queen into, white stands better. So he has to take it. And now a4. If you play bishop takes pawn, b5, c5 is coming. a4 stops that. A typical isolony. Normally, this is not the regular isolated queen pawn position. White has castled, rook e1 is there, and queen d1, bishop c1 is there. However, piece activity. In isolated queen pawn, the player must go for tactical opportunity, must go for attack, initiative. If you do not do, then gradually pieces will get exchanged and the player with isolation will suffer in the endgame. One of the main idea of white player is to expand the d5 pawn, but with preparation. The point is the square in front, when there is IQP is there, the square in front of the pawn is the focus point. In general, who controls that square more? If white has more control, white has castled, white will expand d5. If black has more control, black will put a blockade on that square. So, based on that logic, black plays knight and trying to put a blockade. But I don't think this is the right move, bishop. Now, it tries to block the pawn usually, and there is a threat also, knight b4. And now castle. So, logically speaking, black has achieved something but paid a price, because in 13 moves over, you are not castled yet, and there are still pieces. Not a good move, but it is already white is better. He wants to reduce, but take, and I told you, Fisher's principle. If opponent is offering material, just grab it. If you do not find any way he can punish you, I don't think he can punish. The knight is a defender here, and when you play, he will sack hit. Or if you try to put pressure on h2 like bishop d6, he will just come back. I don't think attack is there. For example, now bishop d7, trying to bishop c6. Idea. Where is the attack? No attack coming. Bishop c6, bishop e4 is there. There is no queen entry. So just one pawn up. Just white is a pawn up, and black king cannot castle there. So you cannot play bishop d6. You have to block the pawn. Good or bad, you must play. But now it is a critical move. White must demonstrate the attack. Bishop takes pawn. Check. So in the attack, he has only one minor piece, but the king is very weak, and all you need a rook to join. The knight is there anyway. Knight. Force. Other moves are bad. If you play queen e8, then check, and it is going to be worse. So you can't play queen e8. So only move rather here, queen. Controlling f6 as well and controlling f7 as well. Now the point is, now rook is ready. If the rook is ready to enter, if you play bd7. What else? Now h2 is under attack. Queen check will not get anything. The queen check he won't get much. Not much. So he just goes queen g3. Idea, a tempo. Knight check is threatened. Knight g6 is a threat. The point, now white has to attack. So there is no, it is too slow. You cannot play very slowly. For example, you want to double the rook, like rook c4, rook double, it is very slow, and black will get some counteractivity. So quick opening. Now if you play ed5, sudden death will come. Now I can give rook e1 check. Finish. Both are now under attack. It is finished. You cannot defend that. So you cannot take ed5. Only move here is bishop d6, but rook e1. Bishop and knight will not solve the problem. Now queen g8 also is losing to queen f3 and winning. No attack. there is no attack. So the only move is bd7. No. Here only move is bd7 and just now free the queen. Now both the rook and queen are doing nothing on the h file and white will have a very easy game. Should winning easily. Hello, Magnus. Okay. No. I will discuss. That book, Tal Lisits. No, this is not that game. I am showing games of Carlson. At the end of the class, I will show Tal Lisits because I told yesterday I will show that game. So here, and I don't see any defense possible because they are lined up already. Finish. Over. This is all over. There is no chance to defend. What else? Suppose you play here rook c8, rg5 is winning. rg5 is winning. Only move. Because you can't play rook h6 also. Only move. And check. Winning endgame with so many extra pawns. So you can't play rook c8. And if you play here rook king e7, that also loses. The threat of b7, threat of d7, crushing. Not going to help. Lost. So he played in the game. After rook queen here, he played this, but then it is all over. A wonderful attack. I would say that this whole point is that it is not a good idea keeping the king so long in the center. Okay. All right. This is Ponomario. Two more games of Carlson. This is the modern way players play against Nasdaq. Now I will show that this is not going to help. No, not this one. b3, this is not going to help. Bishop g5, h6, bishop g5, and now he will strike at the pawn at this point. So this is not going to do any good. This is anyway white stands better. So here, he plays g4. A tricky move because now rook has come against queen. So this will give rise to some more tactical opportunity. So queen moves. Now the knight is heading and now there will be more tension on this point and you can drive with e5. The knight will enter d5. Now you can't play e5. e5 and d5 is just winning. Now e5 and d5 is just winning. So you place. Okay, you want to demonstrate e5 and d5, knight pawn into with a big advantage. So only move. Now this is, I think it is sheer waste of time. After the move, it was necessary to play this. Necessary. Avoiding the queen is protected now, and after this knight is in pin. I can't do anything here. So move, and white stands anyway little better. Slight better for white. But he played the move which queen c5. It turned out to be very difficult. Some sacrifice is coming on e6. So anyway, you cannot, suppose you try to guard with the rook, the second rank, anyway the sacrifice will come. For example, if you come here, anyway the sacrifice is coming. White's attack is going through anyway. You can't allow some other moves. You go somewhere c8, queen a4 check is killing. This is also good. White is better. But in the game, He did not play rook a7. He played in the queen coming bishop, queen b3, and now he played d5. Ignore the piece sacrifice. Ignore it. Cannot castle. e7 check will kill. Cannot castle. Finish. Now knight f5 is also possible. The attack is going through. So the English attack is very dangerous, and you can play. I can suggest one variation. If you are a Najdorf player, I would say after the attack is anyway lost, this is winning position. I would say this variation is very interesting. I would say English attack. Now f3. Now I think the speed is more important. You should play here g4. And now black should play knight here. Why? Because anyway this is going to come. So why wait? Black should play knight here with the idea he wants to bring the knight here and the other knight. Then all his pieces are functioning. And this is not coming with a tempo. One of the main idea of this nd7, now you are going to play. For example, let us say queen d2. Now he will play knight. Now you castle, he will play knight. Now black, not nc4. Now black pieces are all lined up. Bishop b7 and rook c8. He is ready. Whereas now white g5 move is a shot in the blank. So this is debatable, but still I am sure that anyway white has got something up his sleeve in the variation also. Who are the players? I think that exactly Peter. And exactly Peter, who else is playing this? Okay, anyway I will see. Maybe I will see that who is playing this. Let's see. Check out. Check out from my file. Okay, I would show a good player, Novico. He is a very strong GM and he adopted this kind of play. The sacrifice is not correct here. The sacrifice does not yield much, because after the sacrifice, suppose you remove the queens from the board, white is okay. But with queen on the board, the middle game, the piece play will come. This is not going to work. So this is not good. Piece play, sacrifice is not correct. And if you play other move like knight into knight will open the b file. So I would say that this is the best line for counter attack against this English. Okay. So all right, I leave this. Okay, game continued. Something. This is very easy. Very easy for black because he has already opened the file and diagonals. One more game I will show of Carlson. Knight f6. Now the main line goes like that: b e7, rook close. Now after b e7, rook e1, Chigorin, rook e1, b5, all these things is there. But bishop c5, b5, and now bishop c5. You can go bishop c5, but that will give rise to knight e5, knight e5, and knight into white stands little better because he has castled and the game is going to open up. White stands little better here. Okay, and the other line is what you call this one, Archangel. This is Archangel. Bishop b7 or bishop c5, more or less same thing. Now the point is, now if you play bb7, this okay, you are defending, but the bishop remains passively placed here. The bishop is this is doing nothing. He can play a move like d3, and the bishop activity is not there. That is why many grandmasters with black pieces who play archangel, they do not like immediately placing the bishop. Rook b8. Rook b8. Now white is ready to strike at the center. Taking pawn into pawn is bad. Now b5 pawn is not well protected, but indirectly it is defended. Necessary, because if you play bishop b4, g4 if you allow, the center will come under pressure if you allow bg4. So a good prophylactic move. You must maintain the knight on f3. So the sum of the position, white is slightly better, because white rook is developed as it is in the original place without moving. The rook is occupying open file. Second, the center is well maintained, so white stands better. Pawn into, okay, you taking the pawn is a bit risky, but this is safe. You don't want to give the bishop here. You don't want to allow this. So safe. White stands better because there is a good chance of kingside attack on the white diagonal. The point is, this is now the knight runs out of the square, but the bishop is overloaded to the defense. So the knight can enter. And there will be no time for him to go after the knight. Bishop cannot take it. Bishop into a7, rook into a5 is plus minus. This is simply bad. Rook into a5 is terrific. So you have to play here bb7. What else? What else? Now the threat is rook into knight and knight to c6. The threat is rook into knight. And if you play queen d7, that is not going to do. We have got e5, d5, everything. So he just goes bishop. Make sure the retreat of the knight is there. Plus, divert the queen, and now white having a good kingside attacking chances. The knight is heading to f5. The bishops are really good in the pressure. So white has got already an excellent pieces. That bishops, two bishops, and knight access to f5, and this is poorly placed. Go away. Well, exchanging pieces, there is nothing better black can do. Already is hard pressed. So the only move, naturally, you can't take with knight into or not with queen into. However, the center is strong. The g file is open. The position is plus minus, two bishops and also terrific center. g5. I think the position is very difficult now. You have to keep on defending. Direct threat queen into h6, you defend. There is no move. Here, knight e5 is bad. Or king move is also bad. Okay, you cannot go to king h7 in the line of the bishop. It is lost. The threat is now to trap the queen. Many of these strategic motives are achieved by tactical means. Force the queen away. Other rook a1 traps the queen. Now this gives time, because the bishop is no more under pressure. Now the bishop is on this position. On this position, you could not take queen into. There is queen into c2, but d2 forced, and now finish. The king has become very weak. The two bishop open g file. It's obvious, absolutely. You know, this is a very common thing. Bishop at b7 is poorly placed. All right. maybe I will show that Tal Richardson game. I played with Grandmaster Sasikiran. Similar way, I played A4 and to open the A file and got the better game. Though the game was drawn after some errors by me. Very interesting game it was. What is that game? Tal Richardson. I'll show first. Where is Mr. Tal? Just I will write back in a minute. Give me some time. I will write back. Okay, I'm back. Yeah, all right. So, this is actually unlike Tal. Tal normally is a man of action all the time, activity, just fun. But this is unlike Tal. He plays in Smyslov style. Okay, what is called? This is called the 11 fish attack. 11 fish attack. You can't play BG7. You cannot play BG7. E5 is dangerous. This is dangerous. Terrible. Knight here, knight trap, and this is also bishop check is coming. So you can't play E5. Of course, there is some theory with this in computer has shown, but which is bad. So you must stop E5. So you can play here either ND7 or NC6. ND7 is passive. Why? You don't want to exchange pieces. I mean, I have seen Grandmaster Tibiaco, who is an acknowledged specialist on dragon defense. He has played ND7. It is possible, but more active. Knight C6 is more active. No, 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 no. Here f4, knight c6. More active. Now the correct move is ng4. ng4, and after pawn into pawn, pawn into pawn, the game is interesting. The game, it is very interesting. I would say that is fully defendable, though white stands little better. This is little better. Okay. So I would say instead of playing this way, black played rather passive. You can't play bishop g7 now. This is the drawback of nd7. Tempo. Other moves are bad because anyway castle. So white has castled and black kingside is Seki. What is missing, that he will lose two moves, bishop f6, bg7, and already position is bad for him, and he has to consolidate with the bf6. So two moves. Exchanging bishop is bad positionally. Now the standard plan, that as I told you that Koblenz, when there is a fianchetto, we attack h4, h5. And suppose the structure like h6, g7, h6, we go for g4, g5. I can show you that structure also. Now, and a3, push the queen, rook away from the fourth rank, queen. Now the point is, of course, Stahl must have expected queen b6, and normally it is psychologically. Opponent thinks that if you exchange queen with Stahl, then he cannot attack easily. But it doesn't matter. The advantage is decisive now. Queen into, rook into is forced. Now this is the weak point. This kind of structure. Bishops are not there, no black bishop, and then not only that, that I told you in that line Poluhowski Brown, and I showed another game of the other day, the queen king is entering. The king will enter the queen side. Well, this is not a good move, but already black is outplayed. He is desperately trying some activity, attacking the pawn, something. This is now, black is an extra pawn, but the white king is penetrating. White will come like this here, and now this, and even in the game actually penetrated this way. Nothing he can do. Exchange one rook, because then he will be very weak. One rook cannot do anything. Now black giving a first threat. The threat is to exchange the bishop and then enter with the rook. So guard that threat. Forced. Second rank, rook should not move. Now black is actually it is two pawn now, but his pawns are all weak. f4, c6, a7, and for the practical purpose, white is a piece up. 3 pieces versus 2. And once he wins this pawn, a potential queen is on the way. Forced, and the discover check has no meaning. The knight cannot attack rook or any weak point, and won the game. So this is a decisive game where that white king played a key role. I showed you Kasparov versus Vukik yesterday. I showed Poluhowski Brown. Then I showed another game also other day, and this is the game I was searching. So thanks to Mr. Daruwala, I saw the game. All right. There is time. I will give you some end game positions. There is time. Simple basic end game. Few end games I will discuss. 4, 5. Where is that? Somebody asked me to go for the give the bishop knight mate. So there is time. Shall I show you bishop knight mate, or shall I show you some endgame positions? Okay, I will show bishop knight mate another day. Let us do a couple of end games. Okay. So I offer you this position. Now it is white to play. How do you evaluate the position and what should white do? What should white do? Can somebody tell me how should white plan? Yeah, bishop knight mate. No, I will tell you, basically we need to evaluate the position and find a plan. We need to find a plan. For example, now this is a threat. Now rook and queen are putting pressure. So how should white react to it? How should white react to it? Can somebody suggest me? Queen f3, very well played. The point is, white's strength is he has got bishop pair, and more importantly, two pass pawns. These are the decisive factor. That means if the endgame is coming, white is definitely winning. And with queen to f3, he is forcing the endgame. Because not only this is a direct threat, and this is also a threat. Queens off the board. Queens off the board. You have to defend. End of the game. The queen exchange is obligatory. Otherwise you lose the e6 pawn also. So only queen exchange. Queen exchange is no other way. You have to take the pawn and queen exchange and finish. This is all over. So we need to see that if suppose you do not exchange queen, black has lot of life. Suppose let us say you play passive moves, that is bad. Then he will get life. The knight will come. Suddenly a new life will come into the game. He will try to form piece play activity. So don't give a breathing time. Mate threat. You have to defend. Knight c6 is blocking, rook here, and finishing the game. Queen into c2, at least you have one pawn, but then nothing. This is all hopeless. The pawn is just rolling. Simple, there is a very simple plan. Okay, I give you one more position. One more. Okay, this position, it is white to play. How should white play here? What we observe, the one of the black's idea is to enter with the rook to 7th rank. Actually, it is a difficult position. It is more advanced level. First he comes, attacks, and then rook comes. If you move the knight, there is nothing. After you move the knight to back something, then knight bishop d4 and knight c3, it is all. So only counterplay. Now, outwardly it looks black is good because rook on 7th rank. But suddenly the knight d2. Now this cuts off the link between the pieces of black. And you cannot have access. By that time you come and attack, there is the rook, you have to first guard this. You lose time. Now I have time. The rook f3 will join. The whole point is the correct evaluation, white is better. Some checks will come, there is nothing. Repetition. Finish. Over. So outwardly it was looking black is good, but the position was better, and slowly the end game is winning for white. One more. The position, it is Carpo versus Corsonoi. How do you evaluate the position? Black to play, Corsonoi played this rook c6. A great game. This is a great game. Now if you cannot go back, counterplay is there. So an exchange sacrifice is fully justified. Now the point is, rooks cannot code. You need open file for the rooks. There is nothing in the D file now. Rook cannot join. And there is nothing on the F line. Bishop is watching. So even though black has material, white piece position is better. And this pawn also is falling. Force rather. And 2 pawn up. White 2 pawn up and pass pawn. Only move, rather only move. Cannot take that. Bishop d6 wins material. And winning the game. Now the pawns will join and there is an extra pass pawn. The pawns are rolling slowly. Of course, this exchange sacrifice is thematic, and I just give an example that when you have initiative and control over the board. It was played in the World Championship, Merano 1982. No. It was played in 78, Candidates final. 74, 78. 78 World Championship. Manila, I think Manila. This game I have showed already. Already I have showed you. How do you evaluate this position? How do you evaluate this position? The point is, now the king is active, the rook in the open file, and the rooks are not coordinated. This is the point. Rooks are not coordinated, especially this rook. This rook is forget, especially this rook. So, if you do not play, once black plays g5, he will be back in the game. Once black is allowed to play g5, then rook will join and he is coming out of his trouble. Perfect timing. The only move. Nothing. The king in center, ready for the pawn break, and the rook is not joining the game. White is virtually playing with 3 pieces. Not playing mechanically. If you play, he will play rook there and challenge. If you are playing mechanically to double the rook, he will just play rook h8, not giving time. The point now, if you come and exchange, rook d4 was not possible. Then you will join a central pass pawn will come. Welcome. Central pass pawn is coming now. Now I told you, rook and bishop versus rook and knight, pawns on both wings. White has definitely, apparently, a big advantage here. Simple. Plus minus. But notice the move order. Notice the move order. First, he must play in the beginning of the game h4. If you do not play in the beginning at here h4, suppose you don't play, then black is okay. And after the move, also he plays correctly. He brings the king. He realizes the king to center, so that the break will come. And the rook will get the square. This is the whole point. Now if you do not play actively, black will organize king, then rook coming to d8, bother rook and draw. So just in time. And now king button f4. Thematic. And black is a grandmaster, Constantine learner. Okay. Now this position, it is white to play. So how should white continue here? The first move is natural move. Seventh, rook on 7th rank. Anybody will go rook to 7, occupy the 7th rank. So now trying to double the rook. Again the move is forced. You cannot allow the 2 rooks joining 7th rank. So only move. Now take the file. Want to join? Forced move. You have to exchange a rook. You cannot play rook 8. That is bad. So forcing. And now wins a pawn. Okay, this is only beginning, but it is not easy, far from easy. After winning the pawn, he plays knight into pawn, right? Now the knights are paralyzed. These are called redundant knight. You can't move this knight, you can't move this knight. Only Murad. Whatever you do, it is lost. Now, if you play knight into, then this pawn is g pawn is falling, and you play g pawn. If you play rook into, back rank problem. If you play rook into, back rank issue. So winning the game. One extra pawn and 4 versus 1. This is decisive factor. All these pawns are not moving because there is a rook is active and you have to worry. Threat, a typical threat, knight check and winning the pawn with check. You cannot allow knight check, then king f8 only move, knight check back again. Now 4 pass pawns, you can't allow that, only move. Check and finish. Because black is now slowed down a lot and white will pick up more material. Slowed down. Lost. So thank you very much friends being with me, and after few sessions I will again come back with a new topic. Tab tak take care and goodbye. See you again later. Today no class will be there.